Trump has never been particularly popular by presidential standards. In his first term, his approval ratings were singularly miserable, and it originally looked like his second term was going to follow in a similar pattern, with his net approval rating plummeting between January and April. However, beginning in May, his numbers actually started going up, and it looked like voters were keen on Trump unbound. Unfortunately for Trump, in the past couple of weeks, his numbers have once again swung down, reaching a new low early this week. So in this video, we're going to take a look at why Trump's approval rating ticked up last month, why they're back down again now, and whether it's got less to do with Epstein than you might think. In the latest issue of our magazine, Too Long, we dive deep into the current state of America, discussing our real thoughts on the state of American democracy, soft power, universities, and the countries that could steal their crown, from China to the EU. Find out more about Too Long, the end of the American order, by clicking the link in the description. So, just looking at Trump's approval ratings, Trump's second term can essentially be split into 3 chapters. In the first chapter, which runs from his inauguration in January until late April, Trump's approval rating falls quickly and consistently. According to Nate Silver's poll aggregator, during this time, Trump's net approval rating, i.e. the percentage of people who approve of him minus the percentage of people who disapprove, fell from a post-inauguration high of positive 11.7 to a low of negative 9.7 in late April. This decline was mostly driven by voters' perceptions of Trump's handling of the economy. When Trump was elected, there was pretty widespread optimism that his tax cuts and deregulation would be good for business, and most Americans had pretty fond memories of the economy in his first term, when inflation was lower than it was under Biden. However, during the first couple of months, and especially after Trump's so-called Liberation Day on April 2nd, it became clear both that Trump's second term was going to be a bit more chaotic than his first, and that, despite what he promised during his campaign, Trump didn't have some magic quick fix for inflation. This was also when the markets were getting nervous, and both the stock market and dollar were plummeting, which was bad news for basically any American with savings. The second chapter, however, begins in late April and runs through to early June. During this time, Trump's approval ratings actually recovered a fair bit, with his net approval rating rising to a peak of negative 3.5. This was in part because Trump moderated some of his extreme economic policies, including delaying the Liberation Day tariffs and toning down his assault on Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell, which helped the stock market and consumer confidence to recover. But it was also because the media and voters' attention had turned towards Trump's hardline immigration policies, which, while controversial and possibly illegal, were generally pretty popular with the median American. As you can see from this graphical analysis by data journalist G. Elliott Morris, during this chapter, immigration was the only issue where Trump enjoyed a net positive approval rating. However, in the past couple of weeks, and what we're calling the third chapter, Trump's approval ratings have once again started slipping, and fast. According to Nate Silver, as of Tuesday, Trump's net approval rating is now at a new low of negative 9.8, while G. Elliott Morris's aggregator, which does more to account for partisan effects among apparently biased pollsters, has him even lower, at negative 11.8. This is actually slightly better than Trump did in his first term, though. At this point in 2017, for instance, his net approval rating was hovering at around negative 15, but it's still worse than every other recent president. For context, at this point in 2020, Biden was at about positive 10. So why is this? What's gone so wrong for Trump recently? Well, some of it is probably to do with the Jeffrey Epstein scandal, which we've covered in depth in previous videos. Unsurprisingly, voters do not approve of how Trump has handled the Jeffrey Epstein fiasco. A recent Reuters poll found that 69% of Americans think that Trump was hiding the Epstein client list, while a YouGov poll found that 79% of Americans think that Trump should release all of the Epstein files, and over 70% thought that the story was important. But while Epstein might have played a part in this recent decline in Trump's approval ratings, they started sliding before Epstein was front page news, and other polling suggests that it's got as much to do with Trump's immigration policies. As we mentioned a second ago, Trump's hardline immigration policies were genuinely popular to begin with, and they did successfully reduce crossings at the southern border, which have fallen by an unprecedented 95% year on year. However, it looks like Trump has now gone too far, at least in the eyes of the median voter. When it comes to the issue of immigration, net approval on Trump's handling of the issue have fallen from about +6 in June to -5 today. And there's been an even steeper decline when we're specifically talking about deportations, where Trump's net approval rating has fallen from +15 in March, when it was his best issue, to near a -15 today. This is essentially because, while most Americans didn't like Biden's immigration policy and do like Trump's headline immigration policies, including building a border wall, reducing irregular crossings at the southern border, and deporting at least some undocumented immigrants, most Americans really do not like Trump's most extreme immigration policies, which are the ones that have been dominating headlines recently. For instance, CNN polling from early this month found that many of Trump's more radical immigration policies are deeply unpopular, including his plan to end birthright citizenship, the Big Beautiful Bill's massive increase in funding for the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, and ICE's plans to build enormous new detention facilities and detain undocumented immigrants who have lived in the US for years without a criminal record. All of these policies poll poorly, with more than 50% of Americans saying that they disapprove of them, and only around 25% saying they support them. Polling from early this year produced similar results, with most Americans saying that they don't support Trump's more radical deportation policies, or his plans to deport undocumented immigrants to El Salvadorian jails. Similarly, most Americans think that Trump should obey court rulings, but many of his more radical immigration policies apparently require that his administration defy the courts. Anyway, as the media's attention has shifted onto Trump's more aggressive immigration policies, like Abrego Garcia's case or Alligator Alcatraz, public opinion of Trump's immigration policies has soured, apparently pulling his overall approval rating down with it. You get the idea then. The recent drop in Trump's poll rating is probably something to do with Epstein, but it's also because public opinion around his immigration policies is souring. At the same time, Trump has been unable to offset any of this with the economy, with most Americans still saying that they disapprove of how he's handling inflation, trade, and jobs. The only silver lining for Trump here is that, as has been the case for the past few months, the Democrats are still super unpopular. According to YouGov, the Democratic Party's favorability is currently sitting at about -20, and while they're slightly ahead of the Republicans in generic ballot polling, they're doing way worse than they were before previous midterms against Republican incumbents. As you may know already, here at TLDR, we're committed to learning about the world around us, and helping you to do the exact same. And luckily for all of us, our sponsor this week, Brilliant, helps with just that. Brilliant helps you to become a better thinker and problem solver, with thousands of visual, interactive lessons in maths, science, programming, data analysis, and AI. Not only does Brilliant offer the perfect mix of engaging problems and competitive features, it also keeps you motivated with daily encouragement, and their app makes it easy to learn wherever you are. Instead of mindless scrolling with those extra pockets of time you find in the day, you can give your mind a workout with Brilliant's growing collection of programming courses. From learning Python to developing an intuition for computer logic, you'll get hands-on experience with real programs and learn to think like a programmer, building your problem-solving skills to thrive in the evolving world of programming. Plus, all of the content on Brilliant is crafted by an award-winning team of teachers, researchers, and professionals from Stanford, MIT, Caltech, Microsoft, Google, and more. To start your learning journey and try Brilliant for free, visit brilliant.org/TLDR, scan the QR code on screen, or click the link in the description. By doing so, you'll get 20% off an annual premium subscription, and they'll know that you came from us, which really helps us out.